Mature content. The following stream contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences, including mature themes, strong language, and potentially sensitive material. Viewer discretion is advised.
Nope, not doing the intro. What's up, everybody? Thanks for being here. About to watch the last case management conference before Donna Adelson's trial. Jury selection starting on June 3rd. And I have a special guest here, so let me pull her in. What's up, Katie? How are you?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. You ready for this hearing?
Well, I am pulling up what has been filed over here.
I think the only thing that I could be wrong that has to be handled, other than depositions which are coming up, is the motion to keep out and eliminate for Wendy's book, right? I think that's the only thing that is pending. I could be wrong unless there's other.
Uh, I thought there was something as to the divorce file too.
Oh, yes, you're right. That one hasn't been
The
decided. Okay.
divorce file that
Yes, the
is
the
about
blue
that
binder.
thick.
There's two binders that I've watched that I've learned. I believe I could be wrong, but one is the Wendy's, because whenever Wendy's up there, they do two binders. One is the divorce file, which I think is blue, and one is white, which is the interrogation. Well, not the interview transcript, and she goes back and forth between. Yes, that 500, I think, and 60 pages of divorce proceedings, which we've gone through some of it. Let me
And as somebody whose parents were both lawyers and divorced each other, I'm not saying that every single very thick file ends in a murder, but I could have seen it, you know?
I mean, there was a lot of vitriol in a lot of those motions. There was a lot of,
Yeah,
and
there was quite a bit there.
some would say that a reason that perhaps Dan was murdered was because someone didn't want to get deposed. But just a theory that some have had, which I kind of believe. But you guys, let me know. I'm checking, and of course, every time Donna has a hearing, which is remarkable to me, none of the channels have it set up. So I do have the Zoom as backup. So let me just check. Long crime live. Nope. You would think the Tallahassee Democrat, which if you look at their lives, the most watched lives are, look, Donna 10K. These are all 700 views. For some reason they
I
don't have
mean,
a lot.
I'll check WCTV as well for you.
All right, thank you. But otherwise, I do have the Zoom. Let me join just so I'm in there. Felony Division C courtroom Zoom ready, just in case. It's not ideal, but if that's the only thing that it's on, that's what we'll do. So thanks everyone for being here. Appreciate it. I got the Zoom ready in case we need it. And this is it. This is the last, unless something else gets scheduled, before the jury selection on June 3rd. All right, Jerry, we're going to shut you up right now, Jerry. And by the way, since the last time I think you've been on the show, you have started your own firm, correct?
I have. I have indeed.
Congratulations. How's it going?
Thank you. Pretty good. I joke with my sister. I was like, was it this easy the whole time? And really, it's not that easy. It's just, it's really nice answering to yourself.
Yeah, that
Um,
must be nice.
yeah, I'm a really good boss, it turns out, or maybe a very lenient boss when it comes to myself. But I think WCTV has a YouTube channel. Let's see if they're doing. I went to their website. Let's see. Nope, I don't see anything yet.
Nothing yet. All right, so we got this. We got the Zoom, and then we have to watch it there. I wanted to ask you if the jury selection, if you had a guess, if the jury selection starts 6/3, when do you think the trial will start? Like, how long do you think? It was only a couple 3 days, I think, for Charlie, if I remember correctly. It wasn't like a long time, right? I could be wrong.
Right. So Tallahassee, it's the state capital, but it's also a university town. It's got FAMU, which is an HBCU, and obviously Florida State University here. And part of being a university town, in addition to the state capital, I mean, there's a lot of movement in and out of this town. There's people that move every couple of years. People spend 5 years in Tallahassee and then move back to Tampa. People come here for grad school, spend 2 years in an internship, and then leave. I mean, there's a lot of movement in and out of the Capitol. So it doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, when you're trying to pick a jury on a case from 2014, there's a lot of people that weren't living here and that might
Mm,
not have been dialed in.
mm,
Further, it's a town full of government workers and my favorite kind of people, rule followers. So if the judge tells them to disregard something, very few people would say to the judge, "Nah, I can't do that." The way that I have actually seen that happen in Miami, Tampa, Jacksonville. I mean, these are people that work for the government for a living and they will do as they're told.
mhm.
So I think they're probably going to get a jury. Um, and I question whether the defense is going to be able to get enough people to say that they know so much about the case that they can't be fair.
All right, it's loudly interesting.
I did
Uh,
hear that the state had an expert, and the dork in me, an expert as to maybe relocating the trial. And the dork in me wanted to hear the expert. But unfortunately, what you have to do is make an attempt to pick the jury first and then move for a change in venue being the place the trial
the state wants to do
is.
that?
No, no, no. I think the state is contesting it, but I had heard something maybe in one of the hearings from Sarah Dugan about the state having an expert witness regarding a change of venue.
Mm, that's interesting.
So yeah, I wanted to geek out to that just because I've uh, never heard anything about somebody testifying as
An
to that.
expert that what are like what are they going to say? Like they're just what the benefits are and
Or
uh
maybe somebody that could testify to the amount of coverage, the number of YouTube channels that are dedicated to this. But the problem with like the number of YouTube channels that are dedicated to this, the podcast and everything like that, it's on the internet, it's available everywhere. So it doesn't necessarily make, the way that it might have 10 or 15 years ago, for example, with Casey Anthony. Um, that was the last change of venue I remember very well. But it because everything's so available on the internet and because you can just zoom in and you can download the podcast and you can access everything online, it doesn't necessarily mean that moving it is going to be more useful.
sorry guys, I saw the chat that my volume was low. I should be all right now. Sometimes my mic goes lower. I don't know why, but it should be good now. And I see Patty is in here and she's there. So Sarah is there. Georgia is not. Okay, thank you, Patty. Fulford is
Well,
present.
Sarah's actually assigned to Judge Everett, so it makes sense that she would be in there covering most of the hearings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's actually the division chief in that division.
Well, there you go. If you guys didn't know, Katie, she has extensive experience here in Tallahassee and knows all this stuff. Was a prosecutor, now a defense attorney, and is awesome. So, um, should the folks? Is there anything they should go to like follow or like with your new firm, like any socials or anything like that you want to plug?
Not yet. I'm building a website.
Okay,
So I kind of threw one together myself, and then I was like, I'm not good at this. So I've got a firm building me a professional website. So
nice.
for now, it's just like word of mouth. I've got my kind of ratchet website that's up, and then once my new one's built, hopefully by the summer, it'll be great.
All right, folks. So you heard it here. So if you have someone need some legal assistance, Katie is the best. So make sure. And what you can follow her on X at Katie Esquire, which I just retweeted. So if you want to follow her there, if you follow me on Twitter, you could do that as well. Oh, connecting to the Zoom. Not great audio.
Well, as I said, are you gonna call it retiring so? What we're thinking about. We all have that money.
Hopefully, this is just like background noise so I can hear what they're saying.
A lot of times, the deputy or the judicial assistant will pull up the feed for the judge first,
Okay.
just to make sure it's up and running and that the audio is working and stuff like that.
And I believe this little box will be Donna when she's there, if she's not already.
And he's muted himself. Probably now that they've figured out that it's working.
Hi, Mary Lou. Thanks for being here, everybody.
And I'm sure everybody heard that Judge Everett put in for a spot on the appellate court, which is fantastic for him. And I, think he would be fabulous up there, but terrible for the rest of us.
How long does that take to like decide if he can go?
So usually it's a judicial nominating committee, and then they send names up to the governor, and the governor picks. So I would expect. Now I'm losing track of time. We're at the end of March. He'd probably make it through the trial.
Okay, that's yeah. I'm sure that's what everyone's. that would suck to have to get a new judge after everything
Yeah,
that they've been through.
I believe the rule is, and of course there's no teeth in this rule. Like if you don't appoint somebody within this period of time, there's no like, magic bullet that, you're in trouble, governor. But I believe it's either a 60 or a 90-day period of time that the governor has once the names go up to them or go up to the governor. And I think that Judge Everett only put his name into the JNC, or the Judicial Nominating Committee. So, it over the summer or something like that. And obviously, if he's in the middle of this trial, it would not be prudent to move him mid-trial, obviously.
And I think you shared with me like he won like an award after like for like Judge of the Year or something. Maybe I don't know if it was last year or the year. It was right after Charlie's trial. He won some sort of I think it was you, but possibly it was someone else. He won like Judge of the Year or something, like some prestigious award for judges, right?
Yeah, he's just got a really good temperament on the
Yeah, he
bench.
does. He really
That's
does.
what's important to me, honestly, as a lawyer. It is very difficult to get him riled up, which is a really good personality type to have in criminal court. So, that's what I appreciate is he's very even, calm, and incredibly smart too. But if he does happen to get this position, just keep in mind we have a fairly deep bench here in Leon County. We've got several other judges who are well seasoned in criminal law. So just everyone relax. It's going to be okay.
Judge Everett has a pretty good. I know people love Judge Everett, and rightfully so. He's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys, if you see any fees, just let me know. Right now, I got it on the Zoom, but I don't know if anyone's covering it as far as law and crime and Tallahassee. But if not, we'll just watch the Zoom, and hopefully they'll start soon. Oh, there's Phil Markel. Here comes Donna. I hope they filed the inmate handbook when they set her up for this Zoom, because if they're not following the handbook, it would be outrageous.
See, I think she looks good for not having any makeup, and
she definitely put on. If you compare her to her first, she put on some weight, but some would say she needed to put on some. I mean, I'm not whatever she, that was her issue.
Yeah.
Is that she didn't no exercise, no protein in her diet. That was a problem that she had, that she was complaining about.
Well, and then there's also this thing that as I rocket through my early 40s, I've recognized that if you have a little bit more weight on you, you tend to not show as many wrinkles too. So I think that that's kind of working in her favor as well. And of course, that's incredibly petty for me to say, but I do think she looks, to me, when I look at her, she does not look like death warmed over, like she hasn't been sleeping.
Right.
And that could just be her face, honestly, but when she was talking about like I only got 2 hours of sleep a night, when I'm looking at her, I'm like, she looks pretty healthy to me.
She's probably getting more sleep than you are.
Well, I have a toddler.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's like living with a velociraptor. Of course, she's in the jail, so it's the same thing. It's a large. There's tons of noise. The lights are on at all times, and jail is not fun.
No. And what would you do if a client came to you and was like, "Listen, we needed to make a motion because it's just too loud in here and I'm not getting enough protein in my. Would you even like?
Mrs. Adelson,
Oh.
can you hear me?
Here we
Yes,
go.
I can.
Right, we can hear you clearly in the courtroom as well. Your counsel or counsels are with me in the courtroom as well as the state. Mr. Zellman or Ms. Fulford, whoever would like to go first, or Ms. Dugan.
Your Honor, first thing I want to address, I think it was last week, the week before, Your Honor, issued the order concerning the prior investigator. When we were first before the court in December, we were told that the defense would have the benefit of what already occurred. I certainly understand the conflict issues, but our client is being punished and prejudiced in her ability to defend herself, not based on her actions, but on the actions of her former attorneys. It's our understanding that one of the things that the investigator did was travel down to South Florida, take pictures, identify times of travel. We don't have those materials, and we're asking for an exception to the court's order to get those materials, not his reports that he generated from interviewing individuals.
The raw materials.
Just the photographs and those specific notes. And if we want to do it in process where Your Honor makes sure that that's all that's being transmitted to us, fine. But otherwise, our client's going to have to go to the expense of hiring somebody to do that same exact task.
Problem with this, Mr. Zellman, is if in any way conflict bleeds over, that compromises the trial itself. The whole point of stopping the trial because of the conflict was not to have to do this a second time. Your client did select who she wanted to represent her. There is a conflict issue tied up in that. At this point, untangling all that is ensnared by the conflict presents more issues. Does the state wish to be heard?
We defer to your ruling since you did the in-camera review, Judge.
As to whether any raw materials that were obtained by the investigator could be used, I will give this additional consideration. However, any report that he has made that remains subject to the ruling, him assisting with the defense remains subject to the ruling. Other matters that you need to address, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. In December, you entered the order setting court proceeding dates and procedures.
Yes,
I've conferred with the state and we have a few requests for changes in those.
go ahead.
With respect to the discovery deadline, which is now set for Wednesday, April 30th of 2025, we would like the order to be amended, if Your Honor agrees, to say that deadline will remain. The exception would be if the parties agree to depositions outside of that date. We've had some problems with getting some depositions scheduled when everyone is available. We already have one set in May 14th, so we would like just the opportunity to hold depositions past April 30th if everyone is in agreement.
Ms. Dugan.
No objection.
Very well, the deadline will remain in place. As to whether this would affect any motions that would need to be heard, that would occur once the issue presents itself, but you may schedule the deposition if you need to.
Thank you, Judge. We also were requesting that because of the discovery issues, that we extend the pretrial motion filing deadline to May the 9th and to presenting the final witness and exhibit list to May the 13th. And the state had no objection to that either.
Ms. Dugan.
No objection.
Those dates then will be moved as requested by the parties.
Thank you, Judge.
Any other matters the defense needs to raise?
Your Honor, we had previously submitted a proposed order concerning the wealth evidence, and we had
Yes.
addressed it by email with your judicial assistant in the state. And Your Honor indicated that we would address it here this morning. The purpose of submitting that is so that there is complete clarity on the court's ruling, that there's not an issue. We are not trying to get into a situation where we're having to seek a mistrial.
As to that, I reviewed the original order and also what was proposed. They didn't exactly coincide. Is there something in particular that you believe needs to be clarified based from the original order?
I don't think that there is. I think that there's a difference in opinion as to what the court's order meant.
I reviewed the transcript on that as well, and I believe as it went to the state presenting any evidence of motive, or specifically that Mrs. Adelson was somehow involved with the offer of money relating to the, I believe, relocation of the children, that evidence would be permitted as far as any general evidence concerning her money, such as what her net worth was on a particular date. That was not going to be presented. But again, as it relates to presenting evidence on motive, that would be presented. What is unclear about this?
I think that clears up the potential confusion, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Dugan, do you need to be heard on this point?
No, sir.
We've already filed 2 additional motions in limine. There are at least 7 more that we are still working on, and we are hoping to get filed in the next few weeks. When we were here last, I had indicated that there was another motion to suppress. I'd hoped to file previously, but given the depositions that are scheduled, I want to wait until after those, in the middle of April, to get that filed, just to solidify some of the testimony. So that will be filed before the end of April.
Right. As to the motion in limine concerning the use of the book for impeachment, are the parties capable of handling this matter today?
I'm not prepared for that.
We can, I believe that the state stance is that much of that has already been heard before as well, but we could get with your assistant and set a time for that to be heard.
Go ahead, so that way that matter can be resolved somewhat quickly, I believe, compared to the other motions, but there should be, look at the calendar.
He's going to grant this. He doesn't want to read the book again. He doesn't want to see the cover. So he's just going to.
Probably handle either a 30-minute or 45-minute motion on that. Even this week, if all parties are capable of handling it. State defense.
Just looking at my calendar, Your Honor, it looks like I'd be available. I could make myself available almost anytime Thursday and anytime Friday.
Ms. Dugan.
That should work. Maybe Thursday afternoon, we could set something if I could get with Ms. Kappelman, and we'll email Lynn this afternoon. Would that be okay?
Contact Lynn to see what time on Thursday we can go ahead and address the issue
Sir.
Yes, sir.
of the book.
Yes, sir. And then lastly, on the venue issue, we have the materials from our expert. I was hoping to file it last night, but still finishing putting all of the materials together. We also have spoken with the state about their position on filing those materials under seal. That motion to file under seal and the proposed order is already done. I could submit those today when I get back to the office. And then the materials themselves, I'd like to say tonight, but realistically, probably tomorrow.
Please file them as soon as you're capable. If there is no dispute from the state concerning whether it's under seal, you may do so.
Ms. Kappelman indicated yesterday that there was no objection from the state, so that portion's already resolved.
Very well. Do the parties need another case management before we get to the more substantive dates and the orders?
State does not.
Your Honor, at this point, I don't think that we do. If something arises that we cannot work out amongst ourselves and we need to get court intervention, we will certainly contact your judicial assistant.
Well, let me briefly look at the order that was previously set. We're setting all of the dates and deadlines. But the pre-trial is already preset by order for 5/16 at 9 o'clock. That will be the next date in which the matter will be addressed outside of any other motions. Unless either party has anything further to address, we'll be in recess for this case.
No,
Thank
sir.
you, Your Honor.
That is the conclusion of the hearing. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
All right. So what'd you think, Katie?
Was expecting a little bit more. I think everybody was. Surprised Mr. Zalman wasn't prepared on the book.
Yeah, that's weird. Not like, why wouldn't they be ready for that?
It was filed. Sorry, I'm on the
No, take your time.
dissolution. I have bought the book. I have it in the other room. But I have not made it through. Anything's readable if you read it, but oof, yikes.
Shannon tried too. She struggled. But I mean, as far as Donna, I mean, that's more against Wendy than it is Donna. As far as this trial, right? I mean, what could come from that book that would be? I mean, basically it's her life that she's paralleling. It's her autobiography, though she denies it, though she lies about it and admits it. But
Right. Well, so a lot of this stuff, it's my opinion, is a lot of this stuff would not be admissible, but for the fact that the state is convinced that Wendy is lying. And, if a witness lies on the stand and it's about a material topic, you can bring in other evidence to impeach them. And I think if you were to watch this is what I think happened. Nobody's actually had this discussion with me. If you were to watch the first trial, where where her hair's perfectly straight, I guess that's probably she's wearing the same dress, but her hair's perfectly straight. She like comes in and she floats in like a homecoming queen, and then she just starts talking and she's disagreeing with the state, and you can tell the state is just going, what did you say? And so luckily they were totally prepared with all this stuff, but I wonder if they would be trying to admit the entire divorce file if Wendy hadn't said, "Oh no, we were all getting along great and I thought I was going to win everything." And that
except for
it
the
really wasn't
relocation.
contentious whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't contentious, except she filed it to move, but she didn't think she was going to win, but she filed it just because,
And I wonder if she had, and I think about this as a defense attorney. I don't know if she's capable of doing this. I don't know her. But if she had come in and said, yeah, it was a really contentious divorce, but I certainly didn't want him dead. And I certainly didn't, that may have preempted a lot of this. And now that she's testified so many times, she almost has to continue saying the same thing. So, I mean, the first trial, you can kind of tell from the state side that, like, you want to wrestle this alligator or me? Because she gets on the stage, she just starts saying stuff like, no, I was really relieved that my motion to relocate was denied. I mean, I only filed it because I didn't want to move. But like,
no,
it just like defies
logic.
explanation.
Yeah. No, I didn't drive by the crimes. I didn't drive by the house. I just saw I just drove by and I could see the tape, but I didn't drive by. And then you look at the map and she had to have, if she had to see the tape, she had to have driven down the road. But she's like, no, I just stopped at, I forget what the road, anyway. But that's
so there's also a rule that this, what was interesting to me, if I were on the defense side of this case, and of course I'm always having evil thoughts of like, what would I do? That if you know that Wendy is going to lie as the state, and based on how many times she has probably demonstrably lied, and I think we can probably all be on the same page that she has certainly told some untruths in this case, can you really call her to the stand as a witness if you're the state? Because you can't put somebody on the stand you know is going to lie as a prosecutor. And so I kind of like was toying with that in my head as to whether I would file a motion on that if I were representing the defendant. So that, I mean, evil motions probably be denied in all forms, but I was just like, it's intellectually interesting because it's not my case. I don't know if I'd find it intellectually interesting if it were.
right. Oh my God. I'll be the judge. Just sent $100 PayPal. Thank you so much. I'll be the judge. Wow. Thank you so much. All right. So was there anything? I guess was there anything you were surprised by in that, or that was just all pretty much kind of what you expected to see?
Not really. And I'll also say that I know there were a lot of depositions that were being taken. Those are usually not filed with the court. So those of you who are waiting in the clerk system, waiting for those to be filed, those are generally not going to be filed with the court. So you'll find out what they say when it appears in motions or when the witness appears on the stand.
Right. We'll never get the transcripts from the depositions on the docket. Right. So that's it. Okay.
Unless somebody does a public records request to the state attorney's office, and then they might get their hands on it.
Interesting. Public request. And you can get that like pretty shortly after it's done, or how long? That probably takes a while. Or
So under Florida Statute 119, there's a bunch of things that they need to redact, like addresses, social security numbers, stuff like that. So and then they have to pay somebody to go through it and redact it. So they, depending on how long a transcript is, they could, take a reasonable period of time to have a paralegal go through it.
I'll have to look into
And that's
that.
another reason you'd have to pay for it, because you'd pay for the paralegal's time.
Right. Yeah, I had to pay a decent amount for the to get like all the record, the police report, and the videos and stuff like that. That makes sense. I'll have to look into that.
That's why all the crazy stories are from Florida, because you can get your hands on everything.
Sunshine, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I guess that's it, folks. Thanks for being here. So I guess the next thing we have to wait for is there might be a hearing this week on the book, which to me is not a massive thing for Donna's trial. But like to your point, it's to just prove Wendy is a liar. It seems like.
And depending on what she testifies to, maybe suddenly it's relevant. I mean, God only knows what she'll say this time. She's altered her testimony every time she's been on the stand. I'm sure her lawyer would say it's a memory issue. She's under a lot of stress, but God only knows.
Excuse me. All right, folks. I guess that's it. Thank you so much all for being here, and make sure to check out Katie Esquire on Twitter if you want to give her a follow there. And she's going to have her website up soon. And if you need legal help in Tallahassee, make sure to check her out. So, any final words, Katie?
Nope. Stay tuned, as it were.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one.